3 days after my husband died in a warehouse fire, a nurse wheeled me toward the hospital entrance with my newborn asleep against my chest. Grief had become strangely practical. There were forms to sign, medications to collect, feeding schedules to remember. I had not yet found enough quiet to fully understand that the person who promised to grow old beside me was gone. My parents arrived just before the discharge papers were completed. For a brief moment, I believed they had come because I was still their daughter. My father barely looked at me. He looked at the baby first. "You're discharged now. Take the baby and go back to his family." My mother folded her arms. "Widows aren't our responsibility." The words landed without drama, they simply erased the last expectation I still carried. The nurse looked from them to me, clearly uncomfortable, but remained professional. I didn't argue. There was nothing left to defend. My husband's parents lived across the country and were arranging his funeral. They wanted me with them, but traveling alone with a 3-day-old baby after childbirth wasn't medically advised. They were doing everything they could from hundreds of miles away. My own parents knew that. They simply chose not to care. I adjusted the blanket around my son's tiny face and thanked the nurse for her kindness. Then I waited. Earlier that morning, while my parents were still driving to the hospital, I had made one phone call, not because I wanted revenge, because I needed someone who would treat the situation as a matter of safety instead of family pride. The hallway grew quiet. My father became impatient. "Let's go," he said. "We've already stayed longer than we planned." I remained seated. "I'm waiting for someone." Neither of them asked who. Perhaps they assumed I had finally accepted I was no longer welcome. A few minutes later, the elevator doors opened. A man in a dark suit stepped into the hallway. Behind him walked 2 uniformed police officers. My father's shoulders stiffened immediately. The man introduced himself calmly as the attorney handling several legal matters following my husband's death, including documents my husband had completed shortly before the accident. Because of concerns I had shared earlier that morning about having nowhere safe to recover with a newborn, he had requested officers accompany him while arrangements were explained. No one raised a voice. No accusations filled the hallway. The officers simply remained present while everyone spoke. My father tried to interrupt. The attorney politely asked him to wait. He explained that temporary housing had already been arranged through my late husband's employer and life insurance assistance program. Transportation was waiting outside. My husband's parents had authorized him to help coordinate everything until they could arrive. Then he handed me another envelope. Inside was a notarized letter my husband had written months earlier while updating his legal paperwork after learning we were expecting. He wrote that if anything ever happened to him, his first priority was ensuring our child, and I would always have safe housing and independent financial support. He had prepared for possibilities neither of us believed would come. My hands trembled as I folded the letter closed. The attorney asked one simple question. "Mrs. Carter, do you wish to leave with the arrangements we've made?" Yes. The answer felt small. But it was the first decision I had made entirely for myself since the fire. Behind me, my mother finally spoke. "We didn't mean." She stopped before finishing. Some sentences arrived too late. "The officers never threatened anyone. They never needed to. Their presence changed the room from emotional pressure to orderly procedure. For the first time in days, nobody was telling me where I belonged. They were asking." The nurse smiled softly before placing the final discharge packet into my hands. "I hope you and your son have peace," she said. "So do I answered. Outside, the afternoon sunlight felt unfamiliar. A car waited beside the entrance. The attorney loaded my hospital bag while carefully making sure the infant seat was secured correctly. As we pulled away, I looked back once. My parents were still standing near the entrance, neither angry, neither victorious, just silent. I realized I no longer needed them to understand what they had taken from me. Some losses never receive apologies. Some families never become the refuge we hope they will be. That truth hurt, but another truth quietly took its place. My son would grow up learning that love is measured by presence, responsibility, and compassion, not obligation. I rested my hand gently over his blanket as he slept peacefully through the drive. My husband could not come home with us. But because of the care he had taken long before tragedy found us, neither his son nor I would begin our future abandoned. The road ahead was uncertain. For the first time since the fire, it no longer felt empty.